It was popping. We back at it again. It's your boy Eli. I'm not gonna try like that thing. I'm sorry. I could though. Okay, so anyway, this video is about Higgs. Now we know Higgs is in the second game. By the way, if you haven't seen my previous lore discussions, explanations, Death Stranding lore stuff, Death Stranding content, go ahead, check out my channel. It's there probably, but if it's not, just in front of your face, front and center, check in the description down below. Link there to the playlists where every bit of whatever you want Death Stranding on my channel is probably there. So previously we've covered a lot of characters. What have we done? We've done Die Hard Man, Heart Man, Dead Man, Mama, Lockney, Fragile. I think that's what we've done. So now we got Higgs. I wanted to jump into Higgs because his is kind of one of those bigger ones. There's a lot to it, but in a way, there's a lot to it. Like there's a lot of text because he has a lot of journal entries, right? From looking at it, he has like 28 of them. But the thing is, even though some of them are longer, the general gist of it is either stuff you saw in the game or just behind. It's like the mind behind what you saw in the game. So we're going to try to speed through them, kind of just grab portions of it that tell the base of the full story, and just as we do, summarize what happened. And after we discuss, the story, let's be honest, I don't think we even need to summarize his story at that point. We can add in extra information as we go, but that is from what I'm reading here. His journal entries literally explain his story pretty much. So it's going to explain itself, to be real. I'm just going to tell you what it says, so you don't got to read it yourself. You can go read it if you want to, though, but hey, W. So the first one basically explains how he did everything. He was an orphan. Higgs was an orphan, and he just did anything that he could to do what he had to do because he just needed to survive. So he became a porter. And a porter, he got a lot of work, and people would keep getting him, give him more orders, the more deliveries he made. And he realized that it actually helps to be a porter because he has like dooms. He can see BTs, right? So he said it's pretty rare, and that's probably one of the reasons he gets to do so much of the work. But it's not like he really likes helping people per se at this phase, right? Or in this, from what he's saying, he says that sometimes people praise me, tell me I'm doing society a service by helping my fellow man. Can't say that factors into it. I'd sooner keep to myself if I could, but I've got to survive somehow, and I sure as ain't gonna manage it myself, or manage by myself. So that's what this one is about. It's pretty simple, but he goes into it later on in other journal entries. In the second one, he's realizing that he has dooms because this prepper died and he couldn't take him to a incinerator in time, so he bring him to a BT area that was farther away from, the populace and from him in general, right? Because his own shelter was actually close by. So we bring him to another location, and then you realize that when that happened, just before he popped and did, made a void out, he saw like the beach, right? And it was a very strong sensation when he saw the beach. He didn't say what it meant, like what sensation he got, but point is he has dooms is what he realized. So you'll realize that the main point of a lot of these journal entries is to explain this is why he has this, and this is why he has this, and this is why he did this. They're mostly just whys, which I do like. That's kind of the point of these interviews, is they're usually like a why. But his in particular are a lot of whys. Here's why he did this. Here's why he did that. And now we have a change in journal entry 3. Sorry if I'm not keeping the best track of it, but this is journal entry 3. The last one was number 2, and the one before that was number 1. Journal entry 3, he is talking about how he was joining like that resistance group or whatever. It was like a delivery group, but it wasn't associated with the UCA, so they're kind of not official. You can't really, you can't just say that they're like the best of the best or anything like, we could trust them or something. But he said that instead of doing it out of necessity, he's now changed, and instead of that, he's an altruist now. Apparently, he's trying to help people, and the people will rely on him. Let's be honest, he seems like a mule in the way that he is talking. That all people rely on me. They need me so badly. But he says that Daddy always told me that the wide world was dangerous, that we had to stay in our shelter, spend our whole life there, die there. Well, that community is what it's all about. So he's about community. He's about all this different stuff, but we'll see that change in no time as he starts getting absolutely unhinged. In journal entry 4, he's basically just saying that he's kind of on his doomer type of ideas, where he sees this other dude, like another porter on a delivery, and he like calls out for help. But as he's calling out for help, he sees like the line, he heard it went dead, and he sees a void out right after, and it nearly blinded him. So he guessed that the person he was calling basically just went to BT territory and died. So yeah, but then he was just saying like all this stuff about, it's horrible, we need more people to help us, better equipment, blah, 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 all that different stuff. So yeah, that's what he's saying right there. Journal entry 5, he's talking about the ha and the ka, basically the same thing as Hartman was talking about, But he's explaining that he wears his mask. He says, I tell you what, if we've learned anything from the beach it's that the Egyptians had it all figured out. That's why I've decided to give myself a mask. Not a death mask though, but one for living, for ruling. Today's the last day anyone sees my face. I don't need it anymore. But yeah, he was looking through a book that was talking about it, and it seemed like he kind of like got a little too deep into it, that it kind of changed him to think of himself as like some type of god or something. You'll see that in his like god complex he has, where he has to be the one to change it all, to save it all. He has like a savior complex, literally. Like you'll see this as it keeps going. But yeah, he says that the mask is like the golden death mask, the masks that the pharaohs had. The ones decorated using magical adornments as an indication of the wearer's prestige and power. He sees himself as a pharaoh. Yeah. Why else would he use a pharaoh mask? Come on, bro. And number 6, journal entry 6, touches on his dad. He touches on that, and he explains that, you know, the demons, DEMENs, were the ones that kill you in the game. Those ones they're terrorists, and they're basically were taking out different places, and then took out a bridges way station by like dropping, you know, a body right on their lap. You know, he said that they dumped a corpse nearby and let it go necro, dropping BTs right in people's laps, like right next to them. It became a bomb, essentially. And he was talking about how all these people, like the terrorists, separatists, isolationists, they all say that America's coming for their freedom, so they want to do all this different stuff. They say they're going to put them in chains, so they have to break free of that. And he says that his dad used to say that a lot, or not his dad, but his like adoptive father. And he would say that better down in the hole than out there under their thumb. And when Higgs tried to run, he would bring him back, and, you know, he said he'd put those heavy hands of his to work and remind me what had happened if I disrespected his authority. So he beat him. You know what I mean? So he said, but that's love, isn't it? He said he was only trying to protect me from the evils of the outside world. Yeah, good Stockholm, bro. I don't know if he's sarcastic, but I don't know, bro. I don't know about that one, man. But then he says, I own my life and my powers too. So I don't think he's sarcastic. And then the first time he ever saw or sensed a BT was when he held him moments before he went necro. He says, my daddy showed me that corpses are precious, powerful things. There's so much more than bombs. Terrorists ought to treat them with proper respect. He has such a good heart here. But then we see it continues to go into this weird savior complex, godlike complex, pharaoh like complex type of thing, as we've seen with the mask, right? And I think he's talking about fragile in this one in journal entry 7, but he talks about a leader that has dooms that's servicing the central part of the country. And he says that if they combine, they're gonna be kind of like the UCA in some respects, but like a different structure and methods, but similar ideology. So yeah, he says, I've got a feeling we're going to be good friends. Wow. But he says at the end of the day, a community needs a strong leader. And the God's honest truth is that I'm the only one cut out for it. He got the savior complex. I'm telling you, he's got it, bro. That's all that one really has. Basically, he joins up with Fragile or whatever. I assume he's talking about Fragile to, like, you know, join their operations. And then it's going to be like the UCA and stuff like that. But then we have journal entry 8. He then in journal entry 8 realizes that Fragile actually has a really good level of dooms, and she can actually use the beach because she uses it to quote unquote teleport. But yeah, she just goes to the beach. If you didn't catch that part, go ahead, check out my last video. It had Fragile in there. But yeah, he says compared to hers, my powers are nothing. Parlor tricks courtesy of a few corpses. He says, now because of her, I can actually go to the beach. And he basically thinks that she's going to help him reshape the world and all this different stuff. A world where we can do, or where we are free to do whatever we please. But yeah, that's about it for that one. Journal entry 9, he is talking more about Fragile, but he's just saying that he doesn't think they're going to be able to really do anything much. He thinks that we won't be able to really solve it very much. But then he assumedly finds out about Amelie. He says, but now I've met someone who has none. Well, he said before that even people like me and my partner, we have our limits. But now I've met someone who has none. Someone who could save the world from this madness, make it whole again, put our shattered pieces back together. Amelie. He's got to be talking about Amelie, right? And we see that in the next one. He says her name, Samantha America Strand, Amelie. The moment I met her, I knew she was destined to make us whole again. She told me we'd do it together and even gave me a gift, a bridge baby. It's a BT sensor of sorts, although it looks like a newborn, but it's not. Amelie says it was born on the beach, and that serves as a link between our world and the other side. between me and her too. If I keep it with me at all times, she called it a new child for a new era. I'm not just a delivery guy anymore. I'm a herald for her and her new world. She's given me everything I ever wanted, ever needed, and now I'm free to cut Fragile loose. So journal entry 10 literally just confirms in that sense that, yeah, that was Fragile he was talking about, and Amelie was his replacement because she was stronger, right? So he's like, he's like Toy Story, whatever that kid's name is, Andy. So I was like, I don't need you anymore. Thornaway Woody, I don't need you anymore. Picking up Buzz Lightyear. You know what I'm saying? And he seems to actually agree with Amelie in journal entry 11, where he talks about, BBs, right? That they're not dead or alive. They're in between. They're half human, half something else, kind of like a mummy. But he says, putting Humpty Dumpty back together won't change a thing. And risking life and limb to try a fool's errand. Why sacrifice what little you've got in the here and now for a future that'll never come? It's wasteful and meaningless. Amelie agree for sure. That's a weird way. Amelie. Amelie agree for sure. I would rather say Amelie would. I would rather just say Amelie would agree for sure. Amelie is so annoying to say. Either way, he's agreeing with Amelie about how, because we could do that when we do the Amelie episode. That one's coming soon. Though, granted, let's be real. She don't need a deep episode. She only needs a short episode. Or like just add it on to the end of one, because let's be honest, her story don't have like a lot of stuff within the actual journal entries. She doesn't have much there. But we got journal 12. I met Amelie on the beach. These are short, so I'm just reading them. I met Amelie on the beach again and pressed her for more answers about the Stranding, but she wouldn't give me anything. Maybe she's got nothing left to give. Maybe she's waiting till the time's right. I don't know. I don't care. We all know there's no escaping extinction. I'm struggling to see your angle. Why even pretend to rebuild? Why rail against the inevitable? If there's another layer to this, I can't work it out. And I'm getting sick and tired of trying. If she's not going to let me in on her plans, I'm going to have to assume the worst and take matters into my own hands. Give humanity the coup de grace myself. Just need the power to do it. So Amelie obviously doesn't want to, he doesn't see her angle because she's trying to, of course, she wants to escape it at the end of the day. Right. But he doesn't. He wants to just let it happen. He said, I can't work it out and I'm getting sick and tired of trying. So he doesn't know her plans, and he'd rather just let them go. He just wants it to be over with. He sees the logic and he's like, okay, well, why are we waiting on everything like that? Let's just get it over with. Let's get the Stranding over with. Let's get the last extinction over with. Now we got journal entry 13. Journal entry 13. He starts by saying, Dear Diary, today I nuked Middle Knot City. Wiped it clean off the map. Didn't carry the bomb myself, of course. Fragile did the honors. Delivered my mercy to the people like a good little porter. I'm sure she's surprised, but she shouldn't be. Death and destruction are part and parcel of the human condition. And bringing people together only exacerbates that. Be careful what you wish for, eh? It's like when our ancestors came from the old world to the new and brought their old diseases with them. Natives had no immunity, and over half died in the blink of an eye. Bam! And we've only come up with better, more effective ways of killing ever since. The network's just another means to hastening the end. This was always a logical conclusion of our efforts. I'm gonna make it make sense like Grammarly. This was always the logical conclusion of our efforts. Mine and Fragile's. Maybe that's why I partnered up with her, because in my heart of hearts, I knew it was building for this, I knew it was building to this. Okay, he got rid of Fragile, and he was thinking at the beginning, oh, let's connect everything. And even with Fragile, it was like, oh, let's connect everything. But you're saying, oh, I met with Fragile, and I think at a certain point, I was just gonna, at some point, realize I didn't even really like him like that. Just get him out of here, bro. He was talking before how, yeah, human life matters, community, body, things. And it's like, what? He 100% just changed. And he's getting a little crazy. He's talking about Sam Porter. Where to begin? Dooms, Repatriate, Lone Wolf, Amelie's adopted brother, and he says, swear, I'm not gonna say, but he really hates, he seems like he's very jealous of Sam. He's jealous of that he cares about the stuff he used to care about, right? He said, yeah, I tried that mask on for size once upon a time. The idea of finding, some meaning in being a good Samaritan. Granted, I don't think that should be your meaning, but that's just my little 2 cents, you know what I mean? Just from being a good Samaritan, come on, bro. But yeah, I mean, he really doesn't like Sam because genuinely he's jealous of him. He's who he wants to be. He's the old him that he is putting behind himself. Sam is the old him. He's putting it behind himself. He's a new person. Higgs is a new person. He doesn't like the old him anymore, and Sam is literally just pretty much the old him with the same ambitions and everything. So he don't like that no more. We're kind of getting through them. Journal entry 15. They're so short, I'm just going to read them. Sam's still alive, at least the short ones, the really short ones. Not even avoid us enough to keep a repatriate down. Sticks in my craw. Second expedition got wiped out, obviously, but Sam seems happy to head west all by himself. He's crazier than me, or maybe just desperate. Still can't figure out why rebuilding the nation is so important to him. Well, whatever. He wants to keep at it, he can be my guest. Even if he still had the others backing him up. It wouldn't make a difference. Ending's already been written. I've worked it out. Worked out exactly how it's gonna go down. But dooms alone isn't enough. I need a greater power to finish the job. To rain down fire and brimstone on these modern day Sodoms and Gomorrahs. What a thing to say, bruh. He literally sees him like, he literally sees himself as a god. That's crazy. He literally sees himself, he literally said to rain down fire and brimstone on these modern day Sodoms and Gomorrahs. He legitimately thinks he's a god, and that's what we're getting as we keep going on with this. But then we have Journal 16, very short. I've discovered the truth about the Death Stranding. Amelie's powers have nothing to do with dooms. She's destruction incarnate, the angel of the Death Stranding, the Extinction entity. I understand now what my true role is. The bridge that will deliver her judgment to this world. The executor of the end. No one knows, not even Sam, but they will. I don't even need to explain that one. You get it. It's a very self-explanatory. I read it for you. I don't even explain that one. Crazy. He knows, bro. And he's trying to get it popping. Now we have journal entry 17. They're getting shorter. Sam's arrived in Port Knot City with Fragile to boot. Think I'll meet them there and bring a BT or two along for the ride. It's past time I showed Bridges how powerful I've become. Come one, come all. We'll have ourselves an annihilation party, and when it's over, there'll be no one left to come between me and Amelie and the end of the world. Trying to get him out, get rid of everyone, so he can get to Amelie and get everything started. Get everything not started but ended. It's exactly as it was in the game, pretty much. Now in journal entry 18, he's like saying that Sammy is so stubborn, so is Amelie. She's trying to fight her true nature and flip the script. But he's saying, what difference does it make if it ends tomorrow or a million years from now? The planet's 4.6 billion years old in the universe, God only knows. Humanity's entire history is a blip on that timescale. What's the point of fighting for a fraction longer? Anyway, Sam and Fragile made it to Lake Knot City, which is just as well. I reckon my old partner's due for a stroll down memory lane, a saunter through the crater she carved out with that nuke of mine. Come to think of it, maybe Sam ought to walk it with her. Yeah, I think I'll have him make a special delivery for me. Again, that's just referencing the end of the game and last delivery. It's all referencing in the game if you didn't see that. You know, his final delivery. But again, you should have already played the game before even coming for this video, okay? You should already know this, all right? They're very short though. Journal 19. Sam and Fragile managed to dispose of my nuke before it went off? Before it went off. It wasn't a question. They weren't smart enough to see through my disguise, but something must have tipped them off. Probably what I wrote on the tag. I know, I should have resisted the temptation, but come on. Who the heck reads that? Who the heck reads that Call of Duty these days? And now he's halfway to the coast, but he's in my neck of the woods now. My boys ain't about to lit him and my boys ain't about to let up. We're gonna make him regret ever messing with me and mine. Oh, I want to go back to Journal 18 though, because I believe I messed up on that. We learn as we go. But Journal 18 is literally just referencing the bomb that he gave to Sam so that he can like go blow up a city, right? And the Journal 19 is that they disposed of the nuke, because that's what happened, right? And he's gonna go continuing after that. So yeah, it's just referencing that point where he threw the bomb into the tar. Yeah, it wasn't what I said it was before. Yeah, Journal 20. One of the shortest of all of them. And Journal 20 is basically a nothing burger. He's referencing Sam going to the place where I believe Cliff Unger is. I believe that's what they're referencing. But he's like, it's a supercell or whatever. It just sucked Sam up. It was a storm that sucked him up. And he's like, I don't need the BB to tell me that that's some weird stuff. That's about it. So Journal entry 21 and Journal 21. Journal 21 is just similar to the last one. He's just saying, I have Amelie. Finally, she's trapped at Edge Knot City. It's just what happened in the game. She was trapped at the end of the game in Edge Knot City, and then Sam's gonna come and save her. Right? He just said, oh, I have her finally. And then Journal entry 22, another shorter one, but it's a little longer. And he's talking to Sam in this one, saying like, You know, that Amelie gave Sam a dream catcher, and she gave Higgs his quipu, but saying that Sam doesn't know the real her, and he's saying that it's time for me to tell everyone the truth that hides at the heart of the Death Stranding. And again, that's just referencing her being the Extinction entity and all this different stuff. It's something that Sam just didn't really know about, and all this stuff behind it. So maybe we'll get into some of that later. But for now, we're not gonna get into that. It's a little much. That's something for like a separate episode to like wrap everything up. That seems like a final episode type of thing where we wrap everything up going into the next game, which might even be the next episode. You know what I'm saying? So hey, stay tuned. Hopefully, probably. And I'm guessing this one, Journal 23, is after he got beaten by Sam, where it says that he's saying that he lost everything: his mask, Quipu, the BB doll, everything. Saying, you thought you had the power, that you were the one fated to lead them onto extinction, yet here you are, alone. You thought you were in control, that this was your role, your dream, the verge of victory, of oblivion for one and all. Herald, executor, pawn, God particle? A stupid name for a stupid word I want to say. Fool. Fool. This was your life, Higgs, your tale told by an idiot, full of sound and righteous fury, signifying nothing. So he's saying that his whole entire thing he was doing this whole time did nothing. It was stupid, and he's stupid. he really down the dumps, ain't he, huh? So in Journal 24, he talks about his past, how he was an orphan, and he remembers his dad from when he was really young, but it wasn't his real dad. He has not enough memories about his real parents. They died of disease or something. He says, or something. He says her brother took me in. And I guess he's saying that her brother, his mom's brother, so his uncle, is his quote unquote new daddy. So daddy number 2. And then he said that his new daddy was horrible to him. Full of anger, ugly, violent, everything. Tried to love me in his own way, but I don't know if he ever had it in him. And he tried to shelter him, show him like, oh, there's nothing out there in the real world, all this different stuff. No, there's nothing out there. But when he was curious enough, because he kept smacking him up because of that, he said, got smacked upside the head for my troubles. But try as he might, he couldn't be the curiosity out of me. So he saw a glimpse of outside, because one day he peeked at his monitor, and his dad told him about it, that the outside was actually soaked to the bone by timefall and overrun by demons that would eat him up. And he said, it occurred to me later that his fear-mongering probably got my mama killed, filling her head with his hysterics about the dead walking the earth, and the only safe haven being 6 feet under. So he blames his dad for that, I guess. Or his new dad, his uncle, basically. Journal entry 25 continues on that same story, where he talks about how his dad was not really the greatest of dudes. He had some type of affection from him, like a small bit, but he showed his heart. What was in his heart, he expressed with his fists. So it wasn't really love, was it? And his uncle would keep beating him and telling him not to go outside, and he felt like he would die if he stayed inside. But as he was trying to get out one day, he was hoarding supplies and stuff. His dad had like a really big outburst, was grabbing everything, going crazy, like pinning him down, like choking him out. He was like, I'll read it as it goes. I'll read this last part so you can get it. That was the beginning of the worst beating yet. He was grabbing anything and everything within reach that could be used as a weapon, tearing our shelter apart, smashing furniture, all the while wailing like a wounded animal, tears streaming down his face. He pinned me down, tears and spit flying in my face as he blurted on about me not understanding his pain. His hands around my neck, darkness creeping in from the corners. His pain. He's saying his pain, but it's the F word in the middle each time. So I'm just skipping it. The kitchen knife in my hands, in his neck, his hands. You know the words in between that too. They grow weak, and he just deflates like a balloon all over me. I roll him off, and I look into his glassy eyes, filled with his pain. You know there's a word in between that. His pain. His pain in our steel sky. And the journal entry 26 follows along in the same path. He says he doesn't know how to feel after that. He spent the night next to him and his mind was a blank canvas. But he knew he had to dispose of the body. So he went out and he went to go dispose of the body, but then he saw the world outside and it was crazy. The Cairo clouds and all this different bare rock, bushes, looked kind of dull and sad. But he had to deal with his dad. But he was moving and they saw chiralium coming off of his dad. Sorry, his uncle. Let's be real. But then he says, I felt another presence, a BT coming slow but sure, like it had been walking since the beginning of time. Daddy's keeper. That was the first one I sensed, but it wasn't the last. For a long while after, I remained awakened to their presence. A sixth sense. Daddy's parting gift to me. Over time, it'd fade. But I knew how I got it, and I knew how to get it back. All I needed was another body, and I got real good at making them. Death for life, theirs for mine. A fair exchange. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Brody. I don't but he said he learned that during that process. He thought it was me. He got traumatized. He's like, you know what? I gotta be strong in this world, man. He got corrupted. That boy got his mind corrupted. So he's talking about this person named Coffin. I actually don't know who he's referencing when he says the name Coffin, but basically the person was saying that Bridges ain't who he thought they were, you know? That Bridges was like using, you know, the bridge babies and then tossing them when incinerating them when they were no longer useful. When they were no longer useful and they did not get to have a life. So the guilt was eating her alive, and he said, you know what? I gotta go at it, bro. I can't follow them no more. And that's why. Then in Coffin number 2, which is again about someone named Coffin. I don't even know who this is. I never heard of this person, bro. And in Coffin 2, it's talking about how Coffin was gonna die, or she was supposed to die because she like took a team and raided a BB factory, but then Bridges they made it explode. Like they just blew it all up. Saying that they saved despite terrible destruction and loss of life, they finally managed to eliminate the terrorist threat. No. Coffin survived. She was perfectly fine. Nothing really happened. They just blew up a bunch of people, right? It was what it seemed. But it seemed like, from what he's saying, Coffin survived. So, yeah, they just kind of wiped out everything and everyone in the place, but Coffin was still alive. He didn't specify who else was, but he said she was. But he says he's going to play the good little portal a while longer, and then he's going to put a stop to them. And that is his last one. There might be some other ones and other reports that relate to him, but that's the last one. So yeah, I mean, Higgs is like kind of a troubled person, but I looked at some information on Coffin, and we found out so much about her. She is affiliated with Fragile Express, and she's literally Fragile's mother, who apparently died. Apparently, and this is related. Hey, we're relating to the previous video. Like in the previous video, we were talking. It's important because it's Higgs. Higgs is like her adopted, like, and not really, but in his adulthood, she is kind of her adopted son in a way. He has a lot of parents, but apparently Higgs's name is Peter. And she later died, of course, because of chiral contamination. When they were doing the stuff about trying to, rescue BBs, and stuff like that. But yeah, and then she died to that. It's relating to that thing we were just talking about with it exploding and stuff. But apparently she did actually die from that, from just later on, but like from chiral contamination. Which said it manifested as cancer, so tough. But she faked her death, for Fragile. She actually faked her death and left, right? And then of course gave her husband a Masanga, who then passed on down to Fragile. But she found out about the bridge babies, right? Because she was like one of the people who were, working to bring people back together. There's a good chance that the stuff that they're referencing here, by the way, is actually relating to more interviews. So yeah, maybe we'll get to that when we get to that part of it, when we're going through the extra stuff in the final episode. The one which is probably going to be most likely the next episode, where we're going into like the extra stuff, because there's no like particular character it's just a lot of extra stuff left, right? This is the last one. Higgs is the last one about a specific character, other than maybe Lucy. That's the other one I can maybe see as her own like type of thing. But yeah, like there's a bunch of them about that. But Coffin is someone who left her daughter, and we'll get more into her specific story when we go into, I guess, her stuff. But the point is, she faked her death. She faked her death. She was someone who was helping connect, stuff, and she was a porter and all this different stuff. But the person who delivered pizzas to you, right? That's Higgs. Peter Englert. That's his real name. So you delivers. You deliver pizzas to him, right? He wanted the pizzas. That's Higgs. We see it in his like basement down there and all that different stuff. But yeah, she faked her death. Coffin is related to him in a way. But yeah, that's really it for her story. Basically, is that she left her daughter, and then she was the one who found out about the BB experiments. Told it to, you read it. Told it to Higgs and all that, and then she ended up dying to it as well. But she had to uncover what Bridges did, and she had to really find out about that. So she's a really important character. I didn't even realize that. But we at least touched on it a little bit. We'll touch more on her when she literally has things called memos, and then there's one it's some of the memos, and they're called From Mother to Daughter. But there's like a few of them. So yeah, when we get to that, we'll get to that. But I'm thinking that is about it. Next episode will probably just be Lucy, and depending on how long her part is and how long we have to do to explain her. Probably Lucy, and then we'll tie up all the loose ends with, Bridges staff. After that, that's all we have. We have Bridges staff, and then we have the other section where there's just a bunch of other stuff. That's pretty much all one video. It might be in the Lucy video too, we'll have to see, but that's about it for that. And then from that, we can basically, either in that video or another one, touch up on Amelie and everything, what it means, and then, that type of like speculation type stuff. But that should be like maybe 2-3 more videos max, probably just 3, 2 or 3. Either way, that being said, hope you enjoyed. It was fun to talk about Higgs, and I think he's gonna do a lot of stuff in the next game. I don't know where they're gonna go with him for now, but he's actually not even technically a bad guy necessarily. He just fell down the wrong path. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna see what he does in the next step, next game. But he seems like he's changed a little bit. There's nothing really to show what he would be like in the next game. I don't know where his story's gonna go from here, but it seems like he's still just a crazy guy. But hey, let me know what you think. What do you think he's gonna do in the second game related to this? What do you think about the video? Let me know in the comments down below. Check out the other lore, reading, reaction, explanation things in the playlist in the description down below. Leave a like if you liked, dislike if you didn't like the video, if you disliked, you know what I mean? And go ahead and leave a big old sub for more videos like this. Stay tuned. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed, and watch the video that's on the screen. There's probably one on the screen right now as I'm talking, so go ahead and watch that. It's probably a great video. Go ahead and have fun watching that one.